Good morning, everyone. It is truly an honor to be here at Multiply today with my colleague Suba, as we have an opportunity to walk you through a case study of how we're using agents to help transform one of Target's critical businesses. Now, Roundel is Target's retail media business, and so it was founded on a relatively simple idea that we can take our vast knowledge of consumers and provide them with advertising on our site that is personalized, relevant, and ultimately useful across the shopping journey. And that strategy has paid off. Roundel has grown to support over 2,000 advertisers every year, and those companies we work with range from Apple up to Mars Wrigley, which sells candy and chewing gum, and all sorts of companies in between. And that translates to real dollars for us. Today, Roundel delivers over $2 billion in value for our company and has a stated goal of doubling that number within the next 5 years. So that gives us a significant opportunity to think about how can we use technology to transform this business and support that growth in the right way. And where we started was with what is the first step in any advertising campaign, a media plan. So a media plan you can think of as really the blueprint for success in how we're gonna make sure that our advertising campaign meets its goals. And so it seeks to answer 4 key questions. The first, where do we wanna advertise on the site? Do we wanna be on the homepage, category pages, et cetera? Second question, who do we wanna reach? Who are the audience and the consumers that we wanna talk to and provide the advertisement for, making sure that it's relevant to them? Third, how much do we want to spend? How do we optimize our budget across the choices that we have to make? And fourth, what metric are we trying to optimize for? Is this a campaign that is focused on helping us drive conversion and sales? Or maybe this is a campaign that's focused on increasing awareness for a particular brand. Understanding these questions is critical to success. Now, the good news is we have spent years building advanced data science models to support us in each of these fields. We've got recommendation engines, optimization tools, forecasting suites, and inventory systems that help us answer these questions. But the challenge that we have is that this intelligence is fragmented. It exists in different pieces, and so our media planners, whenever they go through this process, have to hit a variety of systems and manually bring that information together, synthesize it, share it with our advertising partners, and then when they get feedback, they have to go through that entire loop again. So what this really looks like is, let's say we've got a skincare company who comes to us, and they've got a budget of $50,000, and they want to work with us for about 2 weeks to have some advertisements. First thing our media planner does is they go and hit our budget allocation model. How are they gonna optimize that spend? And it's gonna come up and tells them, we're gonna spend some money across our homepage, search, and category pages. Given that we're gonna hit the search system, the media planner now goes to our keyword model to get the recommendations for what are the right terms that we're gonna use to fire these ads when a consumer is searching on our site. Next, they have to go to our inventory model to now be able to understand if we've got placements available on our site and app to be able to support the goals that have been laid out. Then they have to go to the audience model to identify who are the consumers we want to speak to. In this case, we need to be able to identify those guests who have purchased beauty products with us within the last 2 months. The media planner manually synthesizes all of that information, bringing it together into that blueprint, and then shares it with our skincare company. Skincare company loves what they see, but they've got one request. They would like to remove search from the plan. As you can imagine, that sends our media planner back to the very beginning, where they have to do this entire cycle all over again. Now, we know that we can improve this. We can make this better. We can help to eliminate the rework-heavy feedback cycles that we have. We can use agents to help us orchestrate so that we can take away that planner having to do the manual work all the time. We can use agents to help us eliminate the fragmented intelligence we have across this space. Truthfully, we lose the learning loop that we have seen when we get feedback from our clients. What happens across this space is that when we get the feedback, a lot of the times it's in email or chat histories, and so we aren't able to save that and use it in a systematic way to improve our data science models. And ultimately, as you can see from the scale, it just doesn't work as Roundel continues to grow. This is why we decided to bring an agentic approach to help us solve this problem. We can use agents to help us orchestrate these models across all of our systems. We can use natural language feedback, meaning we can move to taking action in real time as we get feedback, and we can store that information using those valuable signals to help us continue to improve our robust data science solutions. And my personal favorite, we can move this process from something that takes on average 5 working days to something that takes just minutes. So now I'm going to have Suba come up to the stage, who's going to walk you through the technical details of how we've brought this to life. And while she comes up on stage, a video is going to play that's going to show you what this process looks like in real life.
Thank you, Melissa. Good morning, everyone. Hope all of you are having a great time here. Before getting to the architectural details, we just want to show how easy for the planners to interact with our agent. They can get the final media plan in few minutes. As you all saw the agent in action, I just want to walk you through the system, how it looks under the hood. The architecture is based on 3 distinct layers that form the plan governing loop. The first layer is, of course, agentic orchestration layer. Think of this as an intelligent router that understands what we want to achieve. The second is the intelligence layer. This is our science element, where the ML and optimization models live. Finally, the feedback layer. This is what makes the system truly dynamic and conversational. We are shifting away from static manual plan generation to dynamic conversational engine. Let's see how each of these layers work, starting with the orchestrator. The agentic orchestration layer sits between our planners and the models. In the traditional way, if the system acted in a very fixed, rigid sequence, but agents operate in a different way. It evaluates the constraints first and determines what model needs to be called and in what order as well. This is where we unlock massive efficiencies in terms of latencies as well. Since model and agent understands the model dependencies, it evaluates the budget constraints first and then executes a parallel fan-out. It simultaneously routes the work to our keyword, inventory, and audience models. It waits for the answers to come back and then stitches it together into one final blueprint. To show how smart this routing is, let's go back to the example which Melissa has explained before, the skincare campaign one. Instead of us determining the budget, let's say the client mandated a very strict 60-30-10 budget split. We will see how agent operate in this particular situation. The first step it does is it understands the intent here. Instead of treating this as an open optimization problem, it translates those percentages into the mathematical constraints and injects it into the budget allocation model. The solver ensures that it operates only within this client-given boundaries. As you can see, the output perfectly honors the client's ask. The second step is parallel routing. This is where our fan-out happens. Since the budget is locked, the agent triggers a keyword model to support the search spend, and then it simultaneously calls the audience and inventory model to secure the right targeting and the real estate for the financial constraints. The final step is the synthesis. The agent is not quietly compiling the spreadsheet, right? It stitches all the model outputs together into one cohesive media plan, but also explains how it interpreted the constraints to arrive at the final media plan. As you can see, agent is not creating intelligence here. It is just orchestrating it. This is the planning intelligence layer. We are relying heavily on our highly specialized ML and optimization models to do the heavy lifting here. Let's understand what these models are and how it helps in the media planning process. The first one is budget allocation model. It uses mixed integer linear programming approach. The model tries to distribute the spend across the different channels and platforms in an optimal way based on the financial constraints we have for the given objective. The objective could be anything, like maximize the ROAS or increase the conversions. The second one is the audience model. It uses classical two-tower deep learning architecture. By analyzing the campaign data and the historical transaction data, it maps the relationship between the high-intent audience segments and the products. Third keyword model, we use transformers to understand the semantic relevancy here to find the best performing keywords for our search-based placements. Finally, the inventory model. Here we use the hybrid approach once again. We use transformers to process the relevancy ranking to get the best contextual fits, and then optimize for reach and performance potential based on the forecasted inventory limits using the MILP model. As you can see, we separated the orchestration from the executions. The recommendations are strictly coming from the ML and the optimization model. Ultimately, this is the layer that makes sure that our plans are deterministic, governed, and consistent. Let's go to the final layer, the feedback layer. This is arguably the most critical component of our system that compresses the campaign planning process from days to minutes. In the older system, if a client asks for a feedback or wants to change the media plans, it would have triggered a lot of manual recalculations. With the new feedback layer, the planner has the ability to iteratively refine the plans using the natural language processing. They have to just type the exact sentence into the system. The feedback line instantly recognizes the conversational input and converts into the structured constraints. Let's see how it converts into the structured constraints, right? We saw the skincare example. Let's say we gave the media plan to the client. The client asked us to remove the budget from the search lines. The agent is not going to take away the budget, 20K budget from the search lines and divide it evenly among the home and category pages. It has to convert this feedback into the mathematical constraints and call the budget allocation model once again. The model runs a fresh optimization to find the best way to split this 20K budget among the remaining lines. As you can see, homepage got 4K, whereas category pages ended up getting the 16K budget. The second step is a little bit more nuanced here, right? Since we have removed the budget from the search lines, we no longer need the keyword model. The agent's routing logic automatically detects that keyword dependencies are not met, and it prunes it from the workflow itself. So it calls only the audience and inventory model to secure the targeting parameters for the new financial constraints. The planner gets the optimized and synced media plan back in minutes. So we have transformed the feedback process that generally takes days of manual calculation into one conversational step. But the system goes a little bit further. We just saw how the in-session feedback transformed the media plan. But what happens if we get one more skincare campaign next month? In the traditional system, what happens is the client's feedback of removing the search line would have been lost in the mail or a Slack message. The budget allocation model doesn't know about this. So it would end up recommending the search lanes all over for the skincare campaign once again. The learning loop is kind of broken here for us. This brings us to the another aspect of the feedback layer. Since the agent sits in the middle of the workflow, it captures every feedback signals. It tracks which recommendations have been accepted, rejected, or modified by the clients and the planners. This data is like a gold mine for the models, right? We are seamlessly capturing the conversational history and manual overrides to use as the training data for our targeting models, whereas system constantly updates the constraints and the penalty weights in the optimization model. So both the types of models are taken care by the long-term feedback. So the process is very simple. In-session feedback fixes the current plan, whereas long-term feedback improves all the future plans. So far, we have seen the technical details behind the solution. Let's try to understand the overarching impact this particular solution has on our business. Of course, it starts with operational, right? We have instantly reduced the campaign planning process from days to minutes. Because of this change in efficiency, we bring out the another important impact element, that is bandwidth availability. The planners are no longer acting as orchestrators, stitching the model outputs together. They can now concentrate on the bigger strategic business elements. Because of this, we now have a highly scalable operational model while making sure that every recommendation is still consistent and data-driven. Finally, the learning part. The system continuously learns from the client's feedback and the planner's knowledge through the automated feedback and learning loop we just saw before. So what began as a very small step to reduce the planning process has become much more for us. We now have a more efficient team, a highly scalable operational model, and a system that gets better day by day. To close out the presentation, Melissa and I would like to leave with few design choices that worked very well for us. Why are we not using agent to build the complete media plan? Why are we still using the optimization and ML models at all? The answer is very simple. It all comes down to math and governance. Gen AI is probabilistic. Let's say if I ask a standalone agent to generate a media plan for the skincare campaign, means it might give me a 50-50 budget split. After a few hours, it might give me a 55-45 split. We can't gamble the financial performance of our campaigns on a system that gives different answers every time we enter, right? That is why we went with agent and model approach. For the same input and the constraints, optimization model ensures that we get mathematically consistent answers. Second reason is we invest a lot of time and capital building these highly specialized models. We didn't want to throw it all away and build once again everything from scratch. So what is Gen AI doing here then? It brings its own superpowers. It brings the orchestration and explanation. By building the hybrid AI approach, we get the absolute best of both the worlds. The agent handles the language, orchestrates the workflow, and explains the strategy, whereas ML model acts as the strict optimizers. This is how we achieved the scale and reliability in the system. So the takeaway is very simple. Enterprise AI is not about replacing the existing intelligence. It is all about orchestrating the right intelligence at the right time through the right systems. That's all we had. Thank you so much for your time.